They say when you marry a man, you marry his peace of mind. But what if his peace of mind doesn't even know what it wants? 1 minute he's clapping for you, the next minute he's frowning like NEPA just took light. Men, they can truly confuse a woman. Amaka found herself inside that kind of problem. And the way she handled it it was pure comedy mixed with small wisdom. If you think you've heard gist before, wait for this one. This one is as sweet as Christmas rice with plenty chicken. So I beg, sit well, cross your legs, hold your drink, because this gist will make you laugh. It will make you shake your head, and it will definitely make you ask, what exactly do men want? So, Amaka had always been this kind of woman who enjoyed looking like herself. Not loud, not indecent, just neat in a way that made heads turn gently. Not rudely. Before marriage, Kene, her husband, used to boast. He would hold her hands at weddings and whisper to his friends, "That woman there, that's my woman. See as she fine." If her heels clicked on marble floors, he would walk proudly beside her like a man whose life had music. If her perfume lingered in the room, he hailed it like an achievement. Many people thought she was the kind of woman who enjoyed attention. The truth was simpler. She enjoyed feeling like herself. From the day Amaka met her husband, Kene, she carried herself with quiet confidence. Clean lines, smart choices, tasteful perfume. If she wore heels, it was because the way they clicked against marble floors made her feel like her life had rhythm. If she matched her handbag to her dress, it wasn't to impress anybody. It was because harmony calmed her. Even in traffic, when horns screamed like angry goats, the small balance of a neat outfit helped her breathe. Before marriage, Kene used to brag. He would hold her in public like a proud schoolboy. But marriage changed many things. The way a new house reveals its strange noises after the first night. It was not immediate. It was gradual. Soft at first, like rain tapping a window before it becomes a full storm. He started with remarks that sounded like concern. "Babe, are those heels not too high for just dinner?" he asked one Friday night. She smiled. "They are comfortable now. I like them." He hummed. Okay. The next time, it was the lipstick. "This shade is very bright," he said. "Maybe something subtle will be better." She nodded politely and wore the same shade because she liked it. It made her skin look warm. It made the mirror smile back. Kene's comments multiplied the way houseplants do when you water them too faithfully. Every day, a new sprout. He would not call them rules, but they were rules. Must you wear perfumes to the supermarket? Must your jeans fit like that? Must your top tuck in? Do you need to carry that clutch? Are we attending a gala? Amaka responded the way a careful woman does when she still hopes the problem is a phase. She made small adjustments. She wore flats more often, even though she didn't like it. She left the bright lipstick for only Sundays. She wore the simple tops he claimed to prefer, then watched him squint at them as if even simplicity had somehow annoyed him. The estate where they lived was the type the realtors called exclusive. The hedges were trimmed like military men. Security men wore crisp uniforms and spoke in short sentences. The roads were often quiet. Children did not shout. They glided by on scooters, parents trailing behind them with coffee in to-go cups. Joggers moved like they had somewhere meaningful to arrive at. Feet focused, earbuds in. Neighbours greeted politely, then closed doors gently. Peace had a sound in that place, the low hum of central air, the soft sweep of a gardener's broom, the distant whir of a perfectly tuned generator enclosure that did not dare be loud. Amaka fit into the neighborhood easily because her peace was neatness shaped into a person. On a Saturday morning, that was bright and expensive with sun, she dressed in clean jeans, a white tucked-in blouse with sleeves pushed to the elbow, and simple sandals. nothing doing too much. She was going to buy bread and milk from the estate supermarket near the gate, the one with good lighting and music that sounded like a dentist's lobby. She picked a small crossbody bag, nothing flashy, and checked her hair in the mirror. It framed her face in a soft, deliberate way. She looked like herself. She felt like herself. That was enough. Kene had been in the study. She assumed he was on his laptop, working through spreadsheets that always made him frown like life was a math problem he could conquer by squinting. She told the house assistant she'd be back in 15 minutes. She locked the door, stepped into the quiet corridor, and breathed like expensive estate air. She did not expect the balcony voice. Amaka! She turned. He stood upstairs on the balcony like a theatre director who did not like the opening act. His face was already arranged into the look that meant trouble. Yes, she asked, calm. Where are you going to dress like that? The air snapped. A jogger slowed down, pretending to stretch his calf. A lady with a stroller paused, eyes on her baby, ears with Amaka. A neighbor handling shopping bags near a black SUV stopped mid-lift. Even the security man at the gate turned his head slightly as if a bird had called his name. Amaka swallowed. I'm going to get bread and milk, she said, trying not to project her voice beyond the flowers. I'll be back soon. For what? Kene asked, voice louder. Bread and milk in tight jeans? Is the bread inside the nightclub? Is the milk a fashion show? Silence tightened like a belt. The estate did not do noise. It did atmosphere most of the times. And right now, the atmosphere held them both up, bright and unforgiving. These are normal jeans now, Amaka said, heartbeat sneaking to her throat. Please lower your voice. Normal how? He continued. See the way it's hugging you. You are going to supermarket or you are going to collect phone numbers. One of the neighbours, Mr. Kunle from number 14, the man who wore polo shirts like a uniform, fussed with his khaki and looked away with a thin line for a mouth. The jogging man stretched the other leg, bent too deep just to avoid eye contact, but his ears were seriously looking at what Amaka and her husband were doing. The security man pretended a car was approaching the gate and stepped forward. I'm going to buy bread and milk, Kene, Amaka repeated, softer because softness sometimes saves the day. Kene leaned forward on the railing. Go in and change your clothes and stop trying to impress people in this estate. This is money, no? Wear something decent. Must you always be showing shape? That was the word, shape. As if her body had suddenly become a criminal with a long rap sheet that needed monitoring. As if she had stored a weapon under her blouse. As if a woman walking to buy bread in a well-cut pair of jeans had to kneel before the court of community opinions. Something rose in her chest. Heat, sadness, a little shame that did not belong to her, but had jumped across from his balcony. She felt it settle on her shoulders like a heavy jacket. She could taste it at the back of her tongue. She could hear the small, respectful silence of people who were watching, pretending not to. She thought about going back upstairs, thought about changing into the baggiest thing she owned, thought about how even that would not be enough, because the problem was not the clothes. The problem was his fear, that shape. Okay, she said, because peace sometimes requires the bending of a strong back. I'll change, oh. She went inside and shut the door, and the estate took a breath again. The jogger resumed his pace. The mother adjusted her stroller. The man with the SUV hit his key and disappeared inside. The security man took 2 steps back and looked at the gate log with new concentration, as if the numbers on the page would explain what had just happened. Inside the bedroom, Amaka stood very still, like a good student, waiting for a teacher to leave the corridor. The mirror did not move. She studied her reflection with the tenderness of a person examining a bruise. It was a normal outfit. Clean, simple kind. She pulled the jeans off anyway. She wore a long, loose dress that felt like a tent. She slipped on flat slippers. She tied a scarf in a way that aged her by 20 years in 5 seconds. She didn't recognize the woman in the mirror. She went back out, head down, and bought the bread and milk. When she returned, Kenneth did not say anything. He nodded like a customs officer. The jacket of shame loosened a little, but did not fall. The days after that carried a delicate silence. Amaka laughed on the phone with her sister, but it sat higher in her throat. She wore basic outfits for basic errands. He still found something to correct. He became an artist of disapproval, sketching complaints with the smallest pencils. One evening, they were leaving for church. He looked at her shoes and said, "Is this not too much for midweek service?" She wanted to ask, what is the approved shoe for seeing God? But she swallowed the joke. It will fall flat in their living room and only the wall clock will laugh. She tried to explain gently more than once. She told him her dressing was not a billboard. She told him she was not advertising a vacancy. She told him style was how she kept her inside neat. He listened like a man sitting through a presentation about a product he did not plan to buy. It's not about you, he said. It's about what the world will say. People are wicked. Men are wicked. It's not about you, he said. It's about the world. People are wicked though. Especially men. Men are wicked. So your solution, she said quietly, is to make me small. He waved it away. I'm not saying you should be small. Just tone it down. Tone it down. That's all. And still, he was not happy. The embarrassment on the balcony made a home in her chest. It moved the furniture. It painted the walls. It rearranged her pride and left the chairs in corners that were difficult to navigate in the dark. She remembered the way the jogger stretched, the way the mother paused, the way the security man's hair tilted to listen to what was going on. Posh people did not gossip loudly, but their silence was a camera with a long lens. She knew they had recorded it in their minds. She could see the file label, the couple in 9B. The call came on a weekday afternoon. Kenneth's voice was crisp, the kind he used when he was mixing respect and command. There is an event tonight, he said. It's an important event though. I'll be going from work. Please, meet me there. It's by 7 p.m. Okay, she said. What kind of event? It's a work dinner. Kind of like for executives and partners. She said, all right. A slow smile found its way to a corner of her mouth. It was not loud. It was not wicked. It was the smile of a woman who has remembered she had hands. She ended the call, put her phone down, and walked to her wardrobe. Her clothes stood like good soldiers at attention. Dresses with clear shapes, blouses that obeyed lines, skirts that knew how to sit on a body. She ran her fingers along them as if claiming citizenship again. She could feel her heartbeat calming with every familiar fabric. She did not pick any of them. From the back of the wardrobe, where memories of other women hid, she pulled out a wrapper. It was one her mother had given her the last time Mama visited. Something floral and loud. The kind of wrapper that reminded her of stir fry, too many colors, somehow sweet. She picked a black top that did not shape anything. She tied the wrapper without the elegance she was known for. She tied it the way small aunties tie wrapper when they are rushing to collect key from a neighbor to check something in the backyard. She found a scarf and tied it without mercy. It sat on her head like a camp. She stepped into flat slippers that refused to look at the idea of height. For a bag, she chose the souvenir nylon from a cousin's wedding, glossy with a picture of two strangers smiling forever. She stood back and looked at herself. If clothes could cry, the mirror would have had tears. She wanted to laugh. She let out a small one that sounded like mischief. She dragged a little powder across her face, not to beautify, but to make the disguise consistent. She looked like a woman who had come to remind people that life is not a runway. She looked like the ghost of a toned down. The venue was a polished hotel where even the air conditioning seemed to have a degree. Chandeliers poured gold on two people's hands. The floor had that expensive shine that makes shoes behave. Men wore suits that whispered their salaries. Women wore dresses that said they had ironed the future. Amaka walked in. Wrapper, swish, swaying, scarf, settled like a tent. Slippers announcing nothing. Conversations in the lounge faltered for half seconds as she passed. Eyes did not widen rudely. This was a posh crowd, but they did examine. Then pull back politely, the way people do when they are not sure if they have made a mistake or a discovery. She saw Kene across the hall laughing with colleagues. His teeth were out, the charming set he wore for advancement. Then he saw her. The laugh stopped mid-air and looked for where to land. It landed on the carpet and died. His spine straightened. The colleague next to him followed his gaze, blinked, turned his smile into a diplomatic straight line, then looked at his drink. Kene excused himself quickly. That quickness that says, there's a fire only I can see. He walked to her with the politeness the venue demanded, but his eyes were running and had no brakes. "What are you wearing?" he hissed, voice low but urgent, the way a man whispers when he's trying to put out a scandal with words. She tilted her head. Her eyes were calm, the kind of calm that performs at festivals. "You said tone it down," she said gently. "So, I toned it down." He looked around to see who might be watching, which, in a place like that, meant everyone and no one. "Amaka," he said, smiling furiously, "this is a corporate dinner. You can't just wear wrapper and scarf and slippers and what is that bag, for Christ's sake?" It's a souvenir now," she said, looking at it with fake wonder. It's very practical. It fits everything I'm wearing." He dragged in a breath like he was pulling rope. "Everyone is looking." "Oh," she said. "So you care how I look?" That question did not hang long. It fell on his shoe and stayed there. He had no answer that could wear a tuxedo. He swallowed. A colleague passed and glanced just once, curious, then gone. Another colleague whispered something to the first, both of them pretending to be discussing logistics. Kene's ears turned the color. They lasted less than an hour. He tried to stay. He tried to place his embarrassment under a napkin and sit on it. He tried to talk about projections while his brain did damage control. He watched two women whisper laugh behind a wine glass and convinced himself they were discussing her scarf. He watched a man adjust his tie and decided the man had adjusted it because he could not breathe from the shock of the wrapper. He misheard compliments as comments. He nodded at jokes that were not told. He picked up his cutlery in the wrong order. Amaka sat with perfect innocence, eating like someone who had come for the food and received a bonus. "Let's go," he finally muttered. "If you're tired," she said, "we can go." In the car, he drove like he was controlling his temper with the steering. The road home was smooth, but the silence had potholes. When they arrived, she untied the scarf slowly in front of their bedroom mirror. She watched herself reappear, piece by piece, the way a face emerges when mist steps aside. She thought about the balcony morning. She thought about the estate eyes. She thought about the night, about the way his pride had performed a trick on him, disappearing when she did not fit the picture. She thought about the word, shape, and how a man's fear can make a woman's body into a crime scene. She did not hate him. Hate was too big, too hot, and she did not want to carry heat to bed. What she felt was cooler, sharper. It was the understanding that some men do not know what they want. When you look beautiful, they fear the world. When you look dull, they fear your reflection. When you are yourself, they fear not being enough. Later, when she lay down, she could feel his eyes on her in the dim room. Those cautious, thinking eyes of a man who had finally watched his own insecurity walk into a party wearing a scarf. He did not speak. He didn't know where to put his apology. Apologies are heavy when the crime is not a single event but a long rehearsal. In the morning, the estate woke politely. Gardeners brushed yesterday off the grass. The security man nodded at the gate log. The joggers returned to their soundtrack. Amaka tied a lighthouse scarf to brush her edges, the soft, easy kind that did not announce anything. She wore a simple dress, made breakfast, and stood by the window. She was not laughing, but Mimo stood beside her, arms folded, tapping his foot, waiting for its cue. She knew this. A woman who can make herself plain on purpose has power. She also knew this. The next time she dressed like herself, it would not be a negotiation. It would be a decision. Kenneth stared at her over her breakfast. He looked like a man considering a new manual for a device he had owned for years, but never read. He cleared his throat. The apology came halfway. It was shy and incomplete, like a student peeping into a classroom and ducking out again. He said, about last night. She raised her head. She did not rescue him. I didn't expect, he began, then stopped, then laughed once without humor. Can you, next time, next time, She nodded slow. I know. And that was the beginning of the second lesson. The first had taught him embarrassment. The second would teach him boundaries. Between the two, a woman stood whole with a wardrobe that did not need permission to breathe. The posh estate would keep walking softly around them, pretending not to look. The world would still be wicked sometimes, and men would still be men. But Amaka had found her own weather. Sun when she wanted it, shade when she chose. When she stepped out again in jeans or in wrapper, it would be because she had decided that morning she wanted to be herself, loud or quiet, but surely. And if anyone asked why, she would say with a small smile, because I like the way my life looks when I dress like me. Inside her, a plan was not forming. It had already formed. If he wanted Tony down, she could take it to the museum levels and hang it on a wall. But if he wanted a wife who had her shine, then he would have to buy better sunglasses because she was not built for hiding. Somewhere between scarf and steel toes, she had remembered a simple truth. Dignity looks good on her. It matched everything she owned. And so, the chapter closed on a quiet house where two people lay beside each other, eyes open, thinking. Outside, the hedges stood at attention. The gates clicked softly and a jogger shoes kissed the road. Inside, a woman's mirror smiled because it recognized her again. The next event will come. The next decision will be hers. And if he asked what she was thinking, she would only say nothing much, even though in her mind, humor, wisdom, and small pepper were already cooking, slowly with a delicious smell that promised the kind of story neighbors will pretend not to hear, but will hear all the same. The end. Thank you so much for watching this story to the end. That's how Amaka tied wrapper and carried nylon bag to her husband's big event, just to show him what toning down really looks like. Did it work? Oh, it worked. The man couldn't even eat his food that night. But personally, if I were to say, even though the small revenge gave her satisfaction, that's not the real solution to marriage problems. If your partner's insecurity is born out of jealousy, no matter the amount of wrapper or jeans you wear, it will not fix it. The only thing that can truly bring peace is communication. Talk about it. Drag the matter into the open and make sure love does not get buried under suspicion. So, here's my question for you today. If you were Amaka, would you have done the same thing? Go to the event looking ancient? Or would you have just sat your husband down for a serious talk instead? Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe because this channel will tell stories that will live in your hearts forever. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.